Say, if you're headed in there, you mind doing something for me?
Yes, I mind. Aren't I doing enough already?
Perhaps, though it seems to me you're doing right enough for yourself. Our benefit being a fortunate side effect. Well, if it ain't much trouble, I left an old metal platter in there, with the image of 2 hammers scribed in the center. Not much to look at, but it was my journeyman piece. Last thing I ever forged.
A dish? You want me to bring you a dish?
Yes, well, it has sentimental value.
Hello Internet, welcome to Games Done Wrongish. In this video we will be taking a look at the PlayStation Plus PS4 offerings for the month of December 2017. The titles are Kung Fu Panda Showdown of Legendary Legends, Forma 8 and Darksiders II the Deathinitive edition. Let's take a look. Kung Fu Panda Showdown of Legendary Legends is a Super Smash Bros. Type brawler game. The game allows up to 4 players at a time to fight it out in a number of different Kung Fu Panda type locations. There are 20 characters to choose from. Each character will be instantly familiar to fans of the Kung Fu Panda movies. Each character has their own special moves and attacks. Generally you jump with X, attack with square, press triangle to do a special attack, and circle to do an ultimate attack. The ultimate attack is powered up by the blue background that fills up behind your character's name on screen. When this is full, you can press or hold circle to use your ultimate attack, which will generally knock every enemy in close proximity flying around the screen. The main aim is to knock all opposing players off the platform or staging area with such force that they cannot make it back onto the safe area. Each player has 3 lives, so to win you will need to ensure that they lose all 3 lives before you do. If you are playing with 1 or more players, you can choose to be on opposing teams or join the same team. In this overview I was playing with my 4-year-old son. We are both on the same team, represented by the green icons above our characters. We put the CPU opponents on opposing teams to give us a fighting chance, or as some will say, to try and cheese an easy win. Even then we still lost the first match. Neither of us knew what we were doing exactly, so once we had an idea, we quickly started again. This time we came out victorious, and every other time after that. We should do, right? It's 2v1v1. We had the advantage. The game also has item drops for you to pick up and use on each map. These can be anything from a saucer to throw to a sword to wield, which can do huge damage and knock the opposing players off screen. After a few games, my son really wanted to play the game with nothing but baby pandas. As I am very accommodating, I agreed. While we still won, and for the most part it was fine for me, he kept on thinking he was playing as my character and standing around punching thin air or jumping off the edge and losing a life, not even realising he was not playing my character. Needless to say, it's best to give small children their own distinctive character that stands out so that they know which character they are controlling most of the time. The game has 25 trophies to collect, which are compiled from 2 bronze, 16 silver, 6 gold and 1 platinum, for a total of 1,230 points. Overall, this was a fun little title. If you are going to have people over for the holidays or have children or siblings around to play with, it can be great fun for an hour or so. It's easy to pick up and play at any given moment and has a very small learning curve. It's worth the download for a bit of multiplayer fun, in my opinion. Forma 8 is a small puzzle game in which you float around a number of enclosed areas as a small black dot type bot. There is no introduction to it, so it is hard to say what is actually going on, but I guess that does not really matter. As the game starts, your little bot's lights for eyes turn on and you can then float around. You do not have any attacks at first, you simply just float around narrow winding passages to find the first goal. You then get your first ability, which is a shockwave type attack that explodes from the bot outwards in a circular pattern. This will knock anything that may be attacking you back while damaging them a little at the same time. For the small red dot type enemies, it will generally take 2 of these blasts to defeat them. A little later on you pick up your second ability, which is the ability to drop and place exploding mines. You can also combine these with your shockwave attack to send the mine in a certain direction to explode upon impact with enemies or obstacles that may be in your way. Whilst floating around the levels, there will be a number of obstacles blocking your path. These can be clusters of rocks that you need to break or push out of the way, or mechanical cogs that you will need to find a control panel for to operate. The cogs will then turn around, opening up the way you need to go next. You have a white health bar at the top left hand section of the screen. This will deplete when you are attacked by enemies or hit with projectiles. It depletes fairly fast, so you need to be on your toes to ensure you repel attacks and move out of the way as best you can. You can refill the health bar by picking up little white lights that are scattered around the area and also drop from defeated enemies. You can also pick up crystal-like items that can be used to power a control panel here and there to open up doors that are blocking your path. There are also collectibles scattered around the areas too, which are usually in slightly harder to reach areas or heavily guarded areas. After a while you will be confronted with a boss type battle, the first one being against a fly trap type plant enemy. I'll be honest and say I could not work this one out at the time of playing. I kept shooting my mines at it until its mouth opened to reveal a big white orb. As this resembled the white lights I had been collecting to replenish health, I thought I needed to float into its mouth and collect this once I had forced it to open. This was not the answer. The plant just crushed my bot when I did this. I could not get past it either, as it follows you up and down, preventing you from moving forward. As such, I resorted to shooting it for around 5 minutes or so, which seemed to do nothing. At this point I called it a day. I did not really care enough to try and work it out or carry on. Had there been an introduction or story woven into the game prior to this, I may have been compelled to carry on and see where the story led. However, so far there was nothing I found interesting that made me want to carry on. I did look it up online later to see what the solution was. Once I found out what it was, I was kicking myself a little for not realising, but not enough to go back and try it again. The game has 30 trophies to collect, comprising of 15 bronze, 8 silver, 6 gold and 1 platinum, for a total of 1,185 points. Overall, this game could be a nice relaxing break from the norm on the Vita. As it is a cross-buy title, if I was going to go back to it at any point, it would very likely be on the Vita and not the PS4. If however you like what you see and do decide to play it, please let me know if you figured out the first boss right away or if you also had to look it up. Please don't spoil it for anyone else by stating the tactic, but do comment below something simple like yes, it was obvious, or no, I also had to look it up. Thinking back on it, it does seem pretty simple, but at the time I just could not figure it out. Darksiders II the Deathinitive edition is a remaster of the original Darksiders II that was released for the PC, PS3 and Xbox 360 back in August 2012. The graphics are improved a little, the gameplay does feel a little smoother, however it does still suffer from the occasional frame rate drops and unresponsiveness that was seen in the original. The Darksiders games are a third-person beat-em-up style game, very similar in playstyle to the Devil May Cry and God of War franchises. The game seems to use ideas from both. In this series you play as one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. In Darksiders you played as War, and in Darksiders 2 you play as Death, which is pretty cool. At the outset of the game, your main goal as Death is to try and save your brother War. He is being held in account for all of the past atrocities on Earth caused by the Horsemen. Death has now seen the error of his ways and feels that War is completely innocent, so he has set out to try and save him from his eternal torment. As might be expected, in order to do so, Death will first need to overcome many trials and tribulations. Corruption is reeking through the earth in most part due to the Horsemen's past actions. Death must try to put a stop to this and open a path to his brother. The gameplay revolves around you fighting off hordes of enemies as Death using lots of different weapons and abilities. You start out with 2 scythes. These are Dark's quick attack weapons. They do minimal damage at first but can be chained into large combos to get the job done. Eventually you will pick up a secondary weapon. There are many secondary weapon choices as the game unfolds, however initially you will pick up a 2-handed hammer. You can then use this combined with your scythe to pull off some pretty powerful combos. As such, hitting square twice followed by triangle will result in you doing 2 quick scythe slashes followed by a huge hammer bash that can shatter lesser foes instantly. Traversing through the world requires you to do a lot of climbing, wall running and jumping from beam to ledge and so on. You also get a trusty steed in this title to use out in the open areas. This is very handy as some quest objectives can have you roaming the land for quite some time before you reach your goal. When you reach the destination of your objective, it is usually the start of a dungeon area. In here you will have a number of puzzles to solve to complete the objective. These are mostly finding out how to traverse the area using your climbing skills, but can also introduce some new mechanics. You may find yourself having to roll a boulder into a hole to trigger a switch, or push a lever to open a door and so on. Some of these levers can be attached to a timed mechanism, so you will have to push the lever and quickly wall run, jump and climb your way around the mechanism before it goes back to its original spot. At the end of the dungeon you are likely going to be confronted with a boss battle. These are huge enemies that generally have one or two main abilities you need to watch out for and dodge, while trying to get in as many hits as you can once they have missed you and are trying to correct themselves. Anyone familiar with the Dark Souls games will have no problem at all here. They are not that punishing. For anyone else, it's a simple case of dodge the big attacks and get as many hits in as you can when you can. There is an RPG type element to the game in which you need to organise your gear, weapons and skills as you progress. Each enemy or chest has a chance to drop an item of gear or a weapon. You can pick these up and go into your inventory to check if they are better than what you currently have. If they are, you can equip them from inside the inventory and either drop the old item or hold on to it to sell at a shop later. When you level up you earn a skill point. These can be spent in the skill tree to offer new abilities such as the option to summon ghouls to fight by your side for a short spell. These abilities cost Wrath to cast. Wrath can be gained from attacking enemies. However, as you delve further into the skill trees, you can find new skills that allow the ghouls to also earn Wrath from their attacks, which can make it so that your Wrath builds up very fast and you can have this assistance much more often. If you remember to use it, that is. I found myself gathering these abilities and hardly ever using them as I simply forgot about them, and got the job done without them. This may not be the case later on. I am sure the game will get much more difficult and you will no doubt end up relying on everything in your arsenal. The game has 50 trophies to collect. There are 40 bronze, 6 silver, 3 gold and 1 platinum for a total of 1230 points. Overall, I quite enjoyed my time with this game. As I stated at the start, there is some frame drops and unresponsiveness to overcome. For instance, there will be times when you are hanging from a beam using L2 to face the way you want to jump. You press X to jump and for some reason instead of leaping in that direction, Death just does a pathetic leap up and then falls to his death. Luckily, death by falling does not set you back to the start of the dungeon or area. It will generally just place you back on the last safe ledge. So while these rare moments can be frustrating, they are not really that much to worry about. Most of the time the gameplay is smooth and responsive, the sound design is great and the mythical story and characters you get to meet and interact with are all very interesting and keep the story and game moving forwards. If you like God of War, you are likely going to enjoy this too. I recommend downloading it and giving it a try if you have never played it before. That wraps up this month's PlayStation Plus overviews for Games Done Wrongish. I will be back sometime between Christmas Day and the New Year with my holiday special video, in which we will be taking a look at some great family-orientated co-op games. If you are going to be sharing your console with family members around this time of year, then be sure to check it out. It may give you one or two ideas on what games you are able to play together. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, then give it a thumbs down. But please try to leave some constructive feedback in the comments below this video so that I can try to make more enjoyable content for you in the future. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe by clicking on the icon in the middle of this screen. To learn more about the channel, you can click the What is Games Done Wrongish video on the left, or you can visit my website at www.gamesdonewrongish.com. Thank you, and until the next time, goodbye.